You spend 45 minutes choosing what to watch on Netflix and end up watching nothing. You have thousands of potential partners on dating apps but cannot commit to meeting even one person. You scroll through restaurant options on the menu for so long that you begin to lose your appetite. So, if modern life feels like one long paralyzing decision, then you are experiencing what we call the paradox of choice, and it's making you more miserable than you realize. Welcome back to Huddle Psychology, where we get uncomfortably real about the stuff going on in your head. I'm Rahul Nair, and we are here to decode the psychology behind why we do the weird things we actually do. So, let's set this thing up as always. We've been sold a big lie. We've been told that more choice equals more freedom, and more freedom equals more happiness. But the data shows the opposite. The more options we have, the more anxious and dissatisfied we become. Welcome to the paradox of choice. See, your grandparents chose from three, maybe four TV channels at max, and they seemed absolutely fine with that. We have, on the other hand, access to millions of shows and still can't find anything worthwhile to watch, or find it rather difficult to choose. They had limited career paths but built satisfying lives. We have, on the other hand, infinite possibilities but still face constant existential dreads about whether we are on the right path or not. This isn't just about being spoiled. This is not simply about being ungrateful either. It's about fundamental human psychology colliding with modern technology and consumer culture. Our brains simply didn't evolve to handle these many decisions, and the result is decision fatigue, commitment anxiety, and a chronic sense that you're missing out on something better. Okay, so let's get into the core concept. The paradox of choice was actually popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz. His research showed that while some choice is essential for well being, too much choice has several negative effects. So let's talk about some of these negative effects one by one. Firstly, decision fatigue. Every decision you make depletes your mental energy, even small ones. When you face hundreds of micro decisions daily, like what to wear, eat, watch, click, read, buy, whatever it may be, you exhaust or you are exhausting your capacity for good decision making. By evening, you're making bad choices simply because you've already made too many choices in the day. So that is decision fatigue. Secondly, the maximizer versus the satisficer problem. Faced with many options, people split into two buckets, two strategies. Satisficers choose something that is good enough and they move on. Maximizers, on the other hand, try to find the absolute best option. Research consistently shows that satisficers are happier, but modern culture encourages maximizing behavior through reviews and ratings and endless options. Thirdly, opportunity cost awareness. With limited options, you choose and feel satisfied. But with unlimited options, on the other hand, every choice becomes a trade off. A trade off between the things that you're not actually choosing. You're constantly aware of what you're missing, which creates dissatisfaction even when good choices are being made. Fourth, regret and second guessing. So, when you have fewer options, it's easier to accept your choice. When you have too many options, on the other hand, you constantly wonder whether you're choosing the right option. You wonder if you chose wrong. This is why people with arranged marriage sometimes report sometimes report higher satisfaction than those with unlimited dating options, not because arranged marriage is objectively better, but because the psychology of choice is different. And finally, FOMO amplification. FOMO is the fear of missing out. Social media lets you see everyone else's choices constantly, making you hyper aware of alternative paths. This creates chronic fear of missing out and makes it nearly impossible to be content with your actual choices. So, here's what's happening in your brain. The decision making process involves weighing options, predicting outcomes, and then committing to a choice. This is mentally taxing work. When you face this process hundreds of times every day, your brain gets overwhelmed and starts making bad decisions, poor decisions, worse decisions, or avoid making decisions altogether. It all comes crashing down. So, how do you navigate modern life without being paralyzed by infinite choice? Allow me to share three broad strategies. First, implement a choice architecture. Deliberately limit your options before decision time. So, if we talk about Netflix, for example, create a to watch list of, say, 5 or 10 shows and choose only to watch those until, of course, you finish them and in its entirety. If it is about restaurants, perhaps pick 3 or 4 restaurants you know are good and rotate between them. Narrow your dating app filters to see fewer matches. By pre selecting the options when you're not decision fatigued, you make better choices when the time comes to actually making a decision. So that is called implementing a choice architecture, which is in essence pre selecting the options before the time of making a decision. Second strategy is adopting the satisfying strategy for low stakes decision. Reserve your maximum energy for what truly is important in your life. Important decisions concerning career, for example, relationships, or perhaps where to live. Reserve your maximum energy for such matters and satisfies everything else. Good enough is okay for everything else. Choose the first shirt that looks good on you, the first meal idea, perhaps, that sounds appealing to you, the first reasonable option that meets your needs and requirements. Save your decision making energy for what actually and truly matters. Thirdly, create decision rules. Automate recurring decisions through rule making. I eat the same breakfast every day, for example, right? That could be a rule. I only buy new clothes when something has been worn out. That's another rule. I commit to plans the first time they're offered or decline entirely. It's another rule. Rules eliminate decision points and free up mental energy for novel situations as and when they appear in front of you that actually require thoughtful decisions. So, for example, that's why I'm always wearing black. My wardrobe is filled with black clothes, allows me the freedom to just wear black clothes and spares me the decision time or fatigue that may be involved in choosing clothes with multiple colors. What should I wear? Should it be blue, pink, or purple or green? What pant? Which choice? How do I match them? All of these decisions I can avoid entirely if I'm going to wear a black top and black trousers. So, helps me remove that decision entirely. I set a rule that I will only wear black clothes. So, that is an example of a rule. Here's something really crucial that we need to keep in mind. The goal is not to eliminate all choice because obviously that's oppressive. The goal is to match your choice capacity to your actual decisions. Most people face far more choices than they have the capacity to even consider, which essentially leads to chronic decision making fatigue and eventually and ultimately dissatisfaction. So, recognize that commitment to any choice means accepting that other options become unavailable. That is important to recognize too. This isn't failure, this isn't loss, it's simply how meaningful life is built. The person who commits to nothing and keeps all options open is actually experiencing the least freedom. So, the person who commits to nothing and keeps all options open is actually experiencing the least freedom because they are paralyzed by possibility. They are paralyzed by possibility rather than empowered by choice. So, let me repeat that. The person who commits to nothing and leaves all options open actually suffers from the least amount of freedom because they are paralyzed by all the possibilities and not empowered by choices. So, having said all of that about decision making and the paradox of choice, this is your homework for the week. Track how many decisions you make in a typical day, from what to wear to what to click to what to eat, and you'll be shocked by the number. Then identify 5 recurring decisions you think you can automate through rules or through routines. Also, notice, are you a satisficer or maximizer? If you're constantly researching the best option and feeling anxious about decisions, try satisficing 1 week for low stake items, low stakes choices, and see how it feels. So, that is all about the paradox of choice and decision making. I hope that is useful and you try out these questions and explore them and reflect upon them. Next week, next week we are going to be exploring the concept of ikigai, the Japanese philosophy of finding your reason for being, your reason for existence. We'll dig into the difference between passion and purpose and why career advice from the internet might be leading you astray from what actually and truly matters to you. But that is next week. Coming back to this week's topic of the paradox of choice, let me know in the comments section, do you struggle with decision paralysis? What helps you make choices without second guessing everything? Let's figure it out together on how to use choice as a freedom rather than a burden. If you want to go deeper and read more, do visit our website, our blog, huddlepsychology.substack.com. If you want to discuss anything one on one around any of the topics we discuss, hit me up at rahul@huddlepsychology.com. And before I leave you, allow me to pitch and let you know that my first book is available in Amazon as a Kindle book. The book's title is Already Home, Advaita Vedanta for Everyday Living. It's my first book, and I'd be grateful for your patronage and support. As the book's title suggests, it is about Advaita Vedanta philosophy, my effort in simplifying or making it more accessible to as many people as possible. I'd be grateful for your support and patronage. So do visit Amazon. It is available across all marketplaces as a Kindle ebook. In the UK and the US, it is available as a paperback book as well. So I look forward to your patronage. Thank you with respect to that. And until next time, keep huddling and keep growing. Ciao for now.